The booster seat in the back of that car still had the store tag on it. A little plastic loop pushed down into the seam where the fabric meets the plastic. Never cut. Never once pulled off. Hold on to that, because she got into that car because of the booster seat. I'm Vess. 3 files tonight, and all 3 of them happened inside an app that's sitting on the phone in your hand right now. Something from the last file is still on my desk, by the way. Nobody's come to collect it. File 002, names changed, everything else exactly as it was sent to me. The 3rd one I'm saving for last, and I'll tell you why now. She did everything right. Every single thing you're supposed to do. We start somewhere easier. A man who nearly got into the wrong car. I'd been at a work thing that turned into a bar thing, which is how most Thursdays went that year. Ordered my ride at 1:40 in the morning. 6 minutes out, silver Elantra, driver named Priya. I stood back under the awning because it had started doing that thin, miserable rain that doesn't look like anything until you're already soaked through. A silver sedan came up, maybe 90 seconds later. Window down. The guy leaned over the passenger seat, looked straight at me, and used my name. Danny? And I said, yeah. Because someone says your name, you answer. That's just a thing a person does. My hand was on the handle. I had already started to turn, the way you do when you're about to drop into a seat. What stopped me was a habit my sister spent 2 years drilling into me. Check the plate, not the car. So I looked down at it, the way you'd check a watch. Barely a real look. Mine started with a number. This one started with a letter. I said something like, "Sorry, man, I don't think you're mine." And he was so relaxed about it. Told me the app reassigns drivers constantly, happens all night. Just get in and he'd sort it on his end. He wasn't pushy. He was reasonable. I've turned that over a lot since. I stepped back under the awning and said I'd wait. And that's where it stopped being a mix-up. He didn't leave. He sat there with the window down and the engine running, looking forward. Not at me, at nothing. I counted. No idea why I counted. 20 seconds, maybe 25, sitting in a live lane outside a bar at closing time, and nobody honked because there was nobody left to honk. Then the window went up and he pulled off. Slow, like a normal car doing a normal thing. Priya turned up 4 minutes later. Real Priya. Right plate, right car. And she made me tell her my name before the doors unlocked, which irritated me at the time and now strikes me as the most sensible thing anybody's ever done to me. It took me until the following afternoon to get to the actual question. How did he know my name? He didn't guess it. Nobody guesses Danny on the first try with a straight face. My name existed in exactly one place that night, and it was on a screen I held at chest height in a lit doorway for 6 solid minutes. Somebody stood close enough to read it. That's the entire trick. A man reads 4 inches of glass from 4 feet back, walks to a car, drives around the block once, and comes back knowing something about you that only a real driver should know. I reported it. They asked for a plate. I had one character of a plate I'd looked at for half a second in the rain, so nothing came of it. And I didn't expect anything to. 2 weeks later, I was outside a completely different bar across town, and there was a silver sedan idling in the lane with the window down. I don't know that it was him. I really don't. I went back inside anyway and got a different ride from a different door. I hold my phone against my chest now when I'm waiting, screen facing in, like a guy carrying something breakable. My friends think it's the funniest thing about me. 3 years driving nights, and I'm good at it. I have rules. No airport runs after 2. Nobody in the seat directly behind me if I can help it. I don't take the ride if the pin lands somewhere with no lights on it. 3 years, and not one incident. And I bring that up because when I tell this story, I can watch people quietly decide I must have been sloppy. He came up as Colin. 11:20 on a Tuesday. Pick up outside a chain place off the highway. 4.9 rating. No notes. When he came out, he asked if he could ride up front. Plenty of people ask. Tall guys ask. People who get carsick ask. I said sure, and he was nice. I keep saying that because it's the whole thing. He was so completely, unremarkably nice that I could not pick him out of a lineup today if you made me. Gray jacket, regular voice, thanked me twice before we were out of the parking lot. He asked how long I'd been doing this. 3 years. Asked if I ran nights mostly. Yeah, mostly. Money's better. Asked whether I had a regular area or just went wherever it sent me. Normal. Every bit of that is normal. People make conversation. It's the job. Then he asked whether the app still knows where you are once you go offline. I said I didn't think so. He said, huh, interesting, and went back to looking out the window, and we talked about the weather for 11 minutes, and I dropped him at an apartment complex on Ridgeway, and he tipped me $4 in the app. 20 minutes later, the message came through. He'd left his phone in my car. Could I bring it back? I pulled into a lit lot and reached over, and it wasn't on the seat. It was down in the passenger door pocket, pushed all the way to the bottom, underneath a folded umbrella I keep in there. Phones don't fall into door pockets. They definitely don't slide under an umbrella on the way down. You put a thing like that where it was with your hand, on purpose, while the person next to you was watching the road. I sat in that lot holding it, and before I drove anywhere, I did one thing that 2 separate police officers have since thanked me for. I hit the contact button in the app and called him back. The phone in my hand didn't ring. Not buzzing on silent either. I'd have felt that through my palm. It just sat there, dark, doing nothing. While somewhere across town, the man I'd driven answered a phone that had been in his pocket the whole time. So it wasn't his phone, it was a phone. $60 at any drugstore, no passcode on it at all. And when the screen came up, there was exactly one thing running. Location sharing. Broadcasting to one number. Somebody had taped a battery pack to the back of it. I did not drive to Ridgeway. I drove to the station on 4th, with the thing sitting inside a plastic grocery bag on my passenger floor, which I know is ridiculous, but I did not want it up near me. And somewhere around the 3rd light, I finally heard his question the right way around. Does the app know where you are when you're offline? He wasn't asking me about the app. He was asking whether anybody would know where I went once I stopped working. That phone was never about following my car. It was about finding out where I sleep. And it would have had it inside a week. Same address every night, engine off at 3 in the morning, still there at noon. He didn't need to follow me home. He got me to carry it there for him. The account was fake, the card on it was prepaid, and nothing came of any of it. The officer who took it off me was very kind and said this comes through more than people think. I check both door pockets and under both seats after every ride now. It adds about 40 seconds and I'll be doing it for the rest of my life. None of that is the part that keeps me up, though. If you'd stopped me at 11:40 that night and asked how the ride went, I'd have told you it was great. Nice guy, tipped well, 2 down. I'm Vess. Every file here started as a message in my inbox. The address is under this video. I read all of them, and I change every name in every one. One tap on subscribe, and the next file finds you on its own. Last one. This is the one I told you about at the start, and I want to say the important part before we begin because of how it's going to sound. She got out. She's fine. She did everything right, and she still nearly didn't. My friend's birthday ran later than I'd promised myself, and I left at 2:10. And I'm the careful one. I'm the person in the group chat who sends the article. My friends have a whole bit about it, and I have never once cared. The car came up as a dark gray Sonata, driver named Andre, 4.92. It pulled in, and I checked the whole thing. Plate against my screen, character by character, model. Then his face in the mirror against the photo in the app. And it was him. It was actually him. everything matched, because everything was real. Then I opened the back door and there was a booster seat on the far side, one of the gray plastic ones with the cup holder in the arm, shoved over against the other door with a kid's hoodie hanging off the headrest next to it. I can tell you exactly what happened in my body because it took about a quarter of a second and I didn't decide any of it. My shoulders came down. That's all. I saw a car seat and I stopped being careful. He was quiet. Radio down low on some talk station. He asked if it was a good party and I said yeah. And that was the last real thing either of us said to each other. 8 minutes of nothing at all. A completely normal ride. Then he went straight past the on-ramp. Made a small noise, sort of an said the GPS had rerouted him and gave it a second, and took us up a frontage road I knew about but had never had a reason to be on. I checked my app. Trip in progress. 9 minutes out. Little car icon crawling along the line the way it's supposed to. So I put the phone back in my lap and let it go, because the app told me it was fine. And I have thought about that one decision every week for 2 years. He missed the next turn, too. Buildings got lower and further apart, the way they do at the edge of anywhere. And then there was a long piece of road with the lights out on one side for construction. And I looked up at the windshield, and the mount was empty. There was a mount. There was no phone in it. He had one down low against his thigh, and the screen on it was white. Maps are dark at night. This was white, with lines on it, like a page. So I looked at my own phone properly for the first time in 6 minutes. The trip screen was gone. It said, "Rate your driver," 5 little stars. As far as that app was concerned, I had been standing outside my own front door for 6 minutes. He'd ended the trip. Drivers can do that whenever they want, and the second he did it, my live location stopped going to my roommate and my sister and everybody else I'd sent it to. The last place any of them could see me was a corner 4 miles back. So I did the loud phone call. It's an old trick, and a stupid trick, and it worked. I called my brother, who did not pick up, and I had a whole conversation with his voicemail. I said the name of the road. I said the color of the car. I said, "I'm 4 minutes out and I can see you on the porch." He didn't say anything for about 10 seconds. Then, very evenly, he said he was going to pull over and sort the GPS out. And he started slowing down on a stretch of road with nothing on either side of it. There was a light up ahead, a real intersection, gas station on the corner, and it went red, and he stopped for it, because a man who stops at red lights doesn't look like anything at all. I had the door open before we'd finished rolling. I ran, and I didn't turn around to find out whether he got out, and I made it to the counter inside and couldn't put a sentence together for about 30 seconds. Police came. And the account was real. Andre is a real driver with a real account and about 1,100 trips on it, and he'd been renting it out by the week to somebody he met online. The officer taking my statement didn't look remotely surprised by that part. They found the car 11 days later, and there is one line in that report I have never been able to put down. It isn't what was in the trunk, although I'll get to what was in the trunk. It's the booster seat. Tag still on it. That little plastic loop through the fabric. Exactly the way it comes off a shelf, never cut, never adjusted, never wiped down, never had a juice box anywhere near the cup holder. No child had ever sat in that seat. And in the trunk, there was another one. Same model, still in the box. He bought that seat and put it in the back of that car for one reason. And it worked on me in a quarter of a second in the dark at 2 a.m. I checked the plate. I checked the model. I checked his face against the photo. I did every single thing you are supposed to do. And then I saw a car seat, and I let my shoulders down. 3 files, and not one of them needed a hacked account or a broken app or anything clever at all. A man read a screen over a shoulder. A man asked a friendly question in a front seat. And a man walked into a big box store, spent $50, and bought the exact object that would make a careful woman stop being careful. So, 3 things tonight, free. Don't confirm your name. Ask them who they're here to pick up and make them say it first. Look at your app in the middle of the ride, not just the start, because a trip that reads completed while you're still moving is the only warning you're going to get. And whatever it is in a car that makes you relax, the car seat, the rosary on the mirror, the school lanyard, the dog hair on the seat, all of that is for sale. And it's cheap. Submissions are in the description. I read everything that comes in, and I change every name in it. I'm Vess. The door behind me is open wider than it was last file, and I haven't decided yet whether that's worth mentioning.